Hi students, welcome back to Bring Up Education. I am Adiba Nisar, your social science trainer, and today we are going to continue with the geography class. It's the lecture 2. I've already uploaded a video of lecture 1, so if you haven't watched it, you can go and check it out. I have left the link of the lecture 1 in the description box. And the topic is the physical features of India. Okay, so before beginning of the lecture, let me tell you that I have referred NCERT book for the notes that you see further in the slides. So if you are using an NCERT book, that's a plus point for me. But if you are using any other book, there's no problem in that. I have summed up all the important points and hopefully it will be useful to you. So let's begin. India is a vast country with varied landforms. Landforms such as the mountains, plains, desert. So, the land of India displays great physical variation, and a country has all major physical features of the earth, that is, mountains, plain, desert, plateaus, and islands. We'll discuss each of the physical features in detail. Major physiographic divisions. So, the physical features of India have been divided under physiographic divisions, and these divisions are as follows. The Himalayan mountain. So, this blue portion that you can see is the Himalayan mountains. Second one, the northern plain. This is the green portion. The peninsular plateau. The brown portion, which is marked as Deccan Plateau, it is same as the peninsular plateau. Don't get confused. Both are similar, but we'll discuss in detail about these plateaux later in the upcoming slides. The Indian desert, it's the yellow portion. The coastal plains. The coastal plains runs along the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. The islands. The islands have not been marked over here, but in the west we have Lakshadweep Islands, and in the east we have the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands. We'll discuss each and every divisions in detail one by one. Okay, so this is a map. I'll be using this map in the upcoming slides. You'll find a similar map in the NCERT book, but if you don't have, I'll leave a link of this map in the description box so that you can access it and use it further for your revisions. Okay, the first division is the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayas are young fold mountains which are the loftiest and one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world. So, in the previous classes, you must have studied about the young fold mountains and the old fold mountains. So, the Himalayas come under the category of the young fold mountains, that is, they are newly formed. Which are the loftiest? Loftiest means they are high, skyscraping, or sky high, which are the common words you can use. And one of the most rugged mountain barriers. Rugged means uneven surfaces, steep or rocky surfaces. So Himalayas are the loftiest and the rugged mountain barriers. They form an arc. You can see over here the brown portion is the Himalayan range, and it forms an arc over the northern border of the India, and it is about 2,400 kilometer long. So it stretches from Kashmir till Arunachal Pradesh, and as you can see in the map that the width varies from Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. So the width varies from 400 kilometer to 150 kilometer. So now we have the Himalaya consists of three parallel ranges in its longitudinal extent. The longitudinal extent, that is the longitudes which are parallel to the equator, and you can see that these ranges clearly in the given map. Now the three ranges are as follows. First one is the Great or Inner Himalayas, or commonly known by the name Himadri. It is marked as 1 in the given map. It has an average height of 6,000 meters. Well, Himadri contains all the continuous ranges. It also contains all the prominent peaks of Himalayas. Prominent means all the important peaks. Therefore, it is the highest mountain range with an average height of 6,000 meters. Now the next one, Middle Himalayas or Himachal. It is marked as number 2nd in the given map, and Himachal lies south of the Himadri. The altitude varies between 3,700 and 4,500 meters. It includes ranges like Pir Banjal. Pir Banjal ranges, it's one of the longest and most important ranges. Dhauladhar range and the Mahabharat range. Now, Middle Himalayas consist of the famous valleys of the Kashmir, the Kangra, and the Kullu Valley in the Himachal Pradesh. This region is well known for its hill station also. That's all for Middle Himalayas. Moving on to next, Outer Himalayas or Shivaliks. Shivaliks are the outermost range with 900 and 1100 meter average altitude. It is marked as number 3rd in the given map, and the Shivaliks are formed by the sediments brought down by the rivers from the north, and the valleys are composed of gravel and alluvium. That was all of the 3 parallel ranges. Moving on to next. The longitudinal valley lying between Lesser Himalaya and the Shivaliks are known as Duns. So the valley between the Lesser Himalayas and the Shivaliks are known as Duns, and some of the well-known Duns are as follows: Dehradun, Kotli Dun and Patli Dun. You must have came across these names. Next one. The Himalayas have been divided on the basis of regions from west to east, and these regions have been separated by the rivers. So starting from the west, we have Punjab Himalaya, which is between the Indus and the Satluj River. Kumaon Himalaya, between Satluj and Kali River. Nepal Himalayas, between the Kali and the Teesta River. Assam Himalaya, between the Teesta and the Dihang River. So that's all about the Himalayan mountains. Now moving on to the next physiographic division, we have the northern plains. Now, the northern plains have been formed by the interplay of the 3 major river systems, namely the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra, along with the tributaries. So the northern plain have been formed by the sediments brought down by these 3 rivers, the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra, including their respective tributaries. The rivers that flow to the plains from the mountains are involved in depositional work. So the rivers which are coming from the northern of the mountains are involved in depositional work, and this plain is formed of alluvial soil. The deposition of alluvium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of the Himalaya over millions of years formed this fertile plain. So this alluvium was brought down by the rivers from the Himalayas, thus making this plain a fertile plain. With a rich soil cover, combined with the adequate water supply and favorable climate, it is agriculturally a productive part of India. It is as well a densely populated physiographic divisions, and the northern plain spreads over the states of the northern India. It includes Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal. It also includes in the east Assam, where lies the Brahmaputra plain. So moving on to next. According to the variations in relief features, the northern plains can be divided into 4 regions. Relief features. Relief features are those features which are related to the landscape of those areas, such as the valleys, mountains, or the type of land present there. So the northern plains is divided into 4 regions, which are as follows. The first one is the Bhabar, lying at the foothills of the Shivaliks. So the river, after descending from the northern mountain, deposits pebble, which forms a narrow belt which are parallel to the Shivaliks, and this plain is known as the Bhabar. So lying south of the Bhabar, we can say, is Terai, which is a wet and marshy area with wildlife and forest. Terai Terai was a very densely forest region full of wildlife, but it has been cleared to create land for agriculture and settlement after the partition. Okay, so Bangar, older alluvium plain which rises above the level of the floodplain. We all know that the largest part of the northern plain are formed by the older alluvium, and the plain which contains the older alluvium is known as the Bhangar. Khadar, younger alluvium of the floodplains. So the Khadar include the area which have the younger deposit of the alluvium. They are renewed every year, and so they are very fertile and ideal for agriculture as well. Okay, that was all about the northern plains. Moving on to the third one, the third physiographic division, we have the peninsular plateau. You can see this brown portion which is marked, it is known as the peninsular plateau. Let us see. The peninsular plateau is a tableland composed of the old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rock. So, peninsular plateau is in the form of a table, and it is composed of old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. It was formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land, and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass. So the Peninsular Plateau is included in one of the oldest landmasses existing. This plateau consists of two broad divisions, namely the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. So the plateau is divided into two portions. First one is the Central Highland and the second one is the Deccan Plateau. We'll see these divisions in the next slide. Okay. So the first one is the Central Highland. The part of the peninsular plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River, covering a major area of the Malwa Plateau, is known as the Central Highland. Okay, we'll now find the Narmada River in the map. Here is the Narmada River. So the area which is above the Narmada River, covering a major area of the Malwa Plateau, here is the Malwa Plateau. So this is the Central Highland, and the westward extension of the Central Highland gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of the Rajasthan. So here it goes. You can see this brown portion. It shows all the peninsular plateau region, and above the Narmada River we have the Central Highland, which also extended towards the Aravalli range in the west side. Now the eastward extension. So in the eastward extension of this plateau are locally known as the Bundelkhand and Baghelkhand. So the local name of the eastward extension is Bundelkhand and Baghelkhand. The Chota Nagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension drained by the Damodar River. So in the east we have here Chota Nagpur Plateau. So it also marks the eastward extension of the Peninsular Plateau. Now the second division is the Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau, a triangular landmass lies to the south of the river Narmada. Now we again see the Narmada River. So, right south of the Narmada River, I'm forming a triangle with this pointer. You can see this is the Deccan Plateau. Okay. The western and eastern Ghats mark the western and eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau. So here is the Deccan Plateau, the triangular landmass, and this dark brown line which you can see, it is marked as the western Ghat over here, and here it is marked as the eastern Ghat. So the western Ghat lie parallel to the western coast. So here is the western coast which runs along the Arabian Sea, and it is the western Ghat is right parallel to the western coast. The eastern Ghat stretches from the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiri in the south. So here is the Mahanadi River and here is the Nilgiri Hills. So the eastern Ghats from north to south, it stretches from Mahanadi River to south in the Nilgiri Hills. So the eastern Ghats are irregular and discontinuous and are dissected by the rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. You can see clearly it is shown in the given map. The western Ghats are higher than the eastern Ghats. Okay. One of the distinct features of the Peninsular Plateau is the black soil area known as the Deccan Trap. This is of volcanic origin, hence the rocks are igneous. So one of the most important features of the Peninsular Plateau is the presence of the black soil, and the area which has the black soil is known as the Deccan Trap. This is of volcanic origin, hence the rocks are igneous. Igneous rocks are those which have solidified from lava. Actually, these rocks have denuded over time and are responsible for the formation of black soil. So these rocks have been exposed over a long period of time, and this led to the formation of the black soil. The Aravalli Hills lie on the western and the northwestern margins of the peninsular plateau. These are highly eroded hills and are found as broken hills. So, the Aravalli Hills we have seen it is also included in the Peninsular Plateau. It is towards the western side, and these are highly eroded hills. So now you know why the Deccan Trap is of volcanic origin. I think that's all of Peninsular Plateau. Moving on to the next physiographic division, we have the Indian Desert. Okay, let's see. The undulating sandy plain covered with sand dunes towards the western margin of the Aravalli Hills is the Indian Desert. So, the undulating sandy plains means the high and low sandy plains covered with sand dunes towards the western margin. We have seen Aravalli Hills in the Peninsular Plateau. So, towards the western side of the Aravalli Hills, we have the Indian Desert. This region receives very low rainfall as well as it has very low vegetation. Luni is the only large river in this region, and burchens or crescent-shaped dunes cover larger areas. Dunes are mound of rivers formed by the wind, basically the sediments brought down by the winds. Therefore, these crescent-shaped dunes cover a large area of the Indian desert. Okay, that's all for the Indian desert. Now moving on to the next, we have the coastal plain. Okay, first let's see the map given. So the area in dark shade includes the coastal region. Now let's see the definition. The narrow coastal strips flank the peninsular plateau. Okay, so you can see that the area in dark is a very narrow strip running along the coastal plains, and we all know that this triangular landmass is the peninsular plateau. So the narrow coastal strip which is found on either side of the peninsular plateau is the coastal plain, running along the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal in the east. So on the west we have the Arabian Sea and it runs along the Arabian Sea, and in the east we have the Bay of Bengal and it runs along the Bay of Bengal. So the western coast is a narrow plain and it is sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. So now you know why the Western Ghat is parallel to the western coast and the eastern coast. The eastern coast are wide and a bit leveled. Okay. Now we'll see western coast and eastern coast more in detail. On the west, the coastal strips are divided into Konkan, Kannar Plain and the Malabar coast from northern to southern part. So this is the black line which shows the coastal plains. Here it is the west coast. So the west coast is divided into three. The Konkan coast. So you can see this is the pink portion marked and it is marked over here. It is the Konkan coast, and the second one is the Kannar plain. Kannar plain is not marked in this map, but we can find the Kannar plain between the Konkan coast and the Malabar coast over here. The third one is the Malabar coast, which is towards the south. So starting from the north to the south, we have the Konkan coast, the Kannar plain and the Malabar coast. Now moving on to the east coast. On the east, the coastal strips are divided into northern Sirkars and the Coromandel coast from northern to southern part. So starting from the north, we have northern Sirkars and the second part is the Coromandel coast. It is all marked over here. You can see them. So in the east side, it is divided into two portions. First one, in the north, we have northern Sirkars and in the south, we have Coromandel coast. Lake Chilka is an important feature along the eastern coast. We'll see where is Lake Chilka. Yeah, the yellow, so it is marked with yellow. It is the Chilka Lake and it is an important feature along the coast, eastern coast. That was all about the coastal plains, about the west coast and the east coast. Hope you have understood till here. So we'll move on to the next one, the islands. Okay, we have already discussed a bit about islands. So so India have two group of islands. We don't have one big island, but we have small chains of island which form a group of island. So let's see the map over here. In the west we have the Lakshadweep Island, and in the east we have the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. So the first one we'll discuss is the Lakshadweep Island. The Lakshadweep Islands group lying close to the Malabar coast of Kerala. Let's see where was the Malabar coast. Yeah. So here lies the Malabar coast, just to the south. This is the map of India, and in the zoomed form you can see the Lakshadweep Island. So here lies the Malabar coast, and the Lakshadweep Island, that is the group of island, lies close to the Malabar coast. This group of island is composed of small coral islands. Well, coral islands are those which are the sediments brought down by the marine creatures. So it is a group of island which is composed of small coral islands. It covers small area of 32 square kilometer. Well, you can see clearly this in the map, that it doesn't cover a large portion, but it covers only a small area in the Arabian Sea. Kavaratti Island is the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. So we'll find Kavaratti. Here it is. So it is the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. That is, it controls all the other island from here. Okay, this was all of Lakshadweep Island. Now we have Andaman and Nicobar Island. So in this map over here, you can see in the east side we have the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. The elongated chain of islands located in the Bay of Bengal extending from north to south are Andaman and Nicobar Island. So it is a long chain of island. We have small group of island, but it is in the form of a long chain, and it is located in the Bay of Bengal. So extending from north to south we have Andaman and Nicobar. In the north you can find the Andaman Islands, and in the south we can find the Nicobar Islands. They are bigger in size and are numerous and scattered. You can see clearly in the picture given that the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are bigger than the Lakshadweep Island and are very scattered and forms a long chain. The entire group of islands is divided into two broad categories, the Andaman in the north and the Nicobar in the south. Okay, we have discussed all of this. Okay, that was all about the physiographic divisions. We have covered all the physiographic divisions of India, including the Himalayan mountain, the northern plains, the Indian desert, the peninsular plateau, the coastal plains, and the last was the islands. We have covered each and everything where we can find all these physiographic divisions and what all are the important features. Hope you guys have understood each and everything that I've taught you today. And so that's all for today. So see you in the next class. Thank you for watching.